So anybody who's listened to the program for any length of time would know that music is a passion of mine, and particularly the bumper music that we play on the program, some of my favorite songs of all time, as is the song playing in the background right now, the Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose, Too Late to Turn Back Now. I remember it as a kid. It stuck with me all these years and decades later, still one of my favorite songs. And so I've made it a point to find some of the people who wrote the songs that you hear on this program. Of course, we've had Richard Idrisi on the program, and we will certainly have others in the future. I'm pleased to welcome to the show today a founding member and songwriter for the Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose. Pastor Eddie Cornelius joins us on the show today. And Eddie, thank you so much for being with us on the program. It's really a delight to have you here.
You're welcome.
Well, you know, I wanted to go back to the day and take us through the story here because you've had quite a life, an interesting life, of course, culminating in a real change in your life, and that would be a conversion or a realization in your life that you needed God, and we're going to get to that in a few minutes. But you had a musical family, and I want to ask you if you grew up musical, and was this in the family that was before you?
Well, my mother was a gospel, it was an opera. She sang opera, but now it wasn't really professional, but she did sing it. And my father was a gospel singer. And so we picked it up, and we had music, all our lives, around the house. And I sang at a theater. I was about 8 years of age. I sang at a theater.
Yes.
And I was impersonating singers at that age with a heavy voice. I did Nat King Cole, quite a few. Louis Armstrong, and I was just a little kid. And I had a big break off it, but my father wouldn't let me take it. So, he didn't want me going out on the road at that age, so he just, canceled it out. But I did have a break at that age, around 8 years old.
And your siblings as well, Pastor Eddie Cornelius, were they musical in the same way that you were growing up and being interested in music because of your parents' musical involvement?
That's correct. We had a little gospel group called the Split Tones. It was me, it was myself, John, Rose, and Billy. Now, you don't know John because he would practice and rehearse, but when it comes time to do it, he would shy out, disappear. So he didn't cut the albums, but we did have a little group called the Split Tones. We were young kids at that time. We go to church singing old-style gospel music, which I wish they would bring that back, but yes. Anyway, that's what we were singing.
It's amazing to hear this, and to the musical family, I think, is something that we knew a lot about in the past. We of course had the Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose, and the Jacksons and the Osmonds, and lots of families that sang together. You don't see it so much today, and it's really a special thing. I would imagine that singing with your family was probably a real joy. Did you get along well with your siblings?
Oh, we had a good time. We got along pretty good. Now, I would say this: we had some singers also. My oldest sister, next to the oldest sister, was singing with Dionne Warwick's mother, managed the group, and she was traveling around with her for a while singing. Not Dionne Warwick, but Dionne Warwick's mother was her manager, and she did a lot of Las Vegas stuff. And so we had music. It's throughout the whole family. We had a good time. We sit out in the front yard at night. Back in those days, you didn't have as much TV, so you would burn some rags to keep the mosquitoes off you. I'm sure you probably wouldn't know nothing about that, too, because you sound like you're kind of young.
Well, I'm old enough to remember these songs very clearly as they were big hits, so that might give it away a little bit. We're talking with Pastor Eddie Cornelius, his musical life story, the Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose and beyond, and where life took him since those days, and we're going to hear a little more music as we go forward here in the program. So you talk about being young and having these influences, but you transitioned into pop music and popular music, and I'm going to ask you, who were the influences of the day? Right before the Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose hit as a big group and you had your own hits, you must have been listening to a lot of popular music because you certainly keyed in on it in your songwriting.
I consider that to be a gift because I don't like to use the word idol, but I did like Nat King Cole's style of singing.
Yes.
And Sam Cooke.
I hear it. Yes, indeed.
And, what they used to say is Eddie picked up a little Nat King Cole and blended it in with Sam Cooke. I don't know. I just started singing. It just sounds like that. But I was crazy about those singers. I mean, they really... Yeah, I have a lot of stuff. I'm in my studio right now. I'm looking at about 5,000 cassette tapes.
Wow.
About 350 albums. Well, about 1,000 albums altogether. So I'm definitely into music.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, if you become a songwriter, you sit down and you listen to a lot of music, and you begin to feel something, and then you start putting it down. Now, you don't copy all people, but I mean, you keep you up, keep it going. Styles change, you keep going, and you keep listening. And that's what I've been doing for the last, 40 years.
I want to tell people how I found you, because I went looking for you one night because I always remembered this music, and I was on the internet and came across a website that had some of your music. And it was so astounding to me because the voice is the same as it ever was. I mean, some people lose their voice over the years, and your voice sounds every bit as good, if not better, than it did decades ago. And I was hearing the song, and it was so haunting to me because it was just hauntingly beautiful. And you were singing about God and your relationship with Jesus. And I thought, this is amazing where the man has come in all these years. And I was so excited to be in touch with you and to bring you on the program. Before we get into what happened in the interim, I do want to talk a little bit about how the band formed and how you came up with your sound, because when you have members of a family together, it's not often that everybody has the same idea about where the band wants to go. Who had the concept for the Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose?
Well, I produced those songs, the ones that you get too late to turn back now.
Yes.
I played guitar. And I'll be honest with you, I played guitar, and I went to Miami, and this producer, he was blessed to hear. Actually, he started to throw us out of the studio because he didn't like the sound at first.
Yes.
But my brother Carter, he's dead now.
Yes.
He said, Eddie, why don't you sing Treat Her Like a Lady? I said, man, treat her like, if you hated the others, I know you hate this one. He said, no, let me hear that.
Uh-huh.
And when I cranked it up on my guitar, I saw him shaking over there. The rest is history.
And it's a terrific song, and another one we're going to play in just a little bit. One of the things that was fascinating about your sound were the arrangements. You had these very lush strings that were just beautiful, and some terrific background vocals in addition to that aggressive guitar and Treat Her Like a Lady. How'd you come up with the arrangements, and who came up with all these backing vocals?
Well, we did all that. I did a lot of it. My brother Carter was a special. He was real professional with background, but we just pitched in together. We were a family, so we had the same voice texture, and that's what makes it sound so good. We raised up together, so we sang. Our voices are actually similar, but not exactly alike, but similar because we come from the family. And by singing together all that, just harmonizing and singing some of those old platter songs and stuff, you know how you do. Well, like I said, it was a long time ago in the backyard. We learned to harmonize. We wasn't taught that. We just picked that up as kids.
What was it like, Pastor Eddie Cornelius, being in the music business in the early 1970s? Certainly had to be a lot different than today, and people were willing to give you a chance. Was it a good experience for you as you look back on it?
Well, to be honest with you, it was kind of hard when I first hit.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a serious accident before the song even made it to the top of the Billboard. We were out in Texas, and policeman stopped me for an autograph.
Yeah.
He watched us do a concert, so he stopped us, and that morning, and he had Treat Her Like a Lady, and he was handing it to me to sign, and this man was coming down the freeway and lost control.
Oh.
And sideswiped my car, killed my guitar player.
Oh, my goodness.
And threw me 36 feet in the air. And I fell on the hood of my car and bounced over on the freeway. And cars went around and sliding brakes and everything to keep from running over me. And it took 4 years for me to be able to even feel comfortable enough to actually get on stage. My record, my songwriter had made it to number 2, Treat Her Like a Lady, but I was home, laid up in the hospital.
You were not able to tour at that time?
No.
And so did the band go out and tour without you, or were you just...
They did.
They did. And that must have been very difficult for you, because I can imagine, and I want you to clarify this, that you must have really loved playing live in front of people. Was that something that you really missed?
Yeah, I missed it, but see, what happened was they were out there playing without me, and it brought a serious problem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where's the lead singer? Because the voice, where is he? It's hard to impersonate that lead singing style.
Yes, indeed.
Even though you could background it, but you can't sing the lead. So a big problem came up with contracts. We had all these contracts for concerts, and they came up to the manager, and it was a lot of trouble. So believe it or not, I tried going out with casts from my left arm, right foot, left leg. That's how many casts I had on. I tried to go out there and sing with that on, and they attacked me in Chicago. The critics.
Yes.
Said, whoever put this man on stage needs to be ashamed of themselves. The man is wobbling out to sing. Look at me. People were crying. I was up there singing. I was singing it just like the record, but they were crying. They were just watching me with all this on. What in the world is this man? Lord? And they were actually crying.
This is an unbelievable story. I've never heard it before. I had no idea this was going on in the background. So you had the initial hit, Treat Her Like a Lady, and then had you already recorded Too Late to Turn Back Now, which was your second hit, or did you record that after the accident? What was the chronology?
Okay, after the accident, it wasn't working. I had so many problems with my fractures, my bones and stuff, so it wasn't working. We came home for a little while, and one of my arm wouldn't heal. It kept breaking, so they had to go and take a piece of bone out of my pelvis and put in it to see if that would work. And it's working now, but it's still not as good as it should be.
Yes.
But while my stay was, I was in my room and I looked at my wife. I said, honey, I have a song idea. Let me hear it. She always asks me to say it for her. And Too Late to Turn Back Now was the song. And I didn't have to write it. I just sang the whole song.
It was right there?
Right there. I didn't have to write Treat Her Like a Lady. I just sang those songs. I sang all the lyrics you hear. I just jumped right up, played my guitar changes, and sang the song.
Wow.
And so my manager called me, the studio producer, and the manager got together to call this guy because the people need another song. That song is a hit, Treat Her Like a Lady. We need another hit. So I said, I have something. So my brother came to pick me up. I weighed about 300 or 400 pounds at all the cats on me. So he took me down and put me in the studio, and I cut Too Late to Turn Back Now.
This is an amazing story, and I had no idea all of this was going on behind the scenes. Pastor Eddie Cornelius is our guest, a musical life story, the Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose and beyond. And when we get back, we're going to hear about the change in his life since then and why he is now Pastor Eddie Cornelius. We'll also hear a little more music. This takes place when the Schilling Show returns, a special edition of Bumper Music brought to life right after this. And there it is. It's Treat Her Like a Lady, the first hit for the Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose. You may remember this. Let's listen to a little bit. Oh, I love it. That is such a great song. Pastor Eddie Cornelius is our guest, and we're talking about his musical life story. And we just heard some really astounding information about what happened kind of at the zenith of the success of this group and this terrible accident that he suffered and how it really played into the future of the band. You had a few more hits, never to the scale of the first two, and then life changed for you. I wonder, Pastor Eddie Cornelius, if you could share for us your own personal testimony and how things turned around for you over the years between then and now. We have just a few minutes left.
Well, you mean my conversion?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, actually, I had a hard time. I'll be honest with you. My life hasn't been the best. I mean, I'm honest with you. People think about, as a celebrity, but behind the curtains, oh, man.
Been tough.
It's been tough, I'm not well yet. I still have a plate in my left leg and a plate in my right arm. Still got nuts and bolts and screws. In fact, they used to call me the $6,000 man. It wasn't worth $6 million. So. But I don't know. I just felt something in my heart one day, and I just, I said, I think I'll cut a gospel album. Sometimes celebrities switch over and cut a song or so. Well, I cut the gospel album, and while cutting it, I began to feel a real strong power of love that I hadn't felt before. From the words that I used on the song, what was happening, the song was witnessing to me. I wrote the lyrics and didn't even know exactly how to write gospel music, but I wrote the lyrics, and the lyrics were very touching, and I began to hear the lyrics, and people began to hear the lyrics, and they started to say, man, I cried. Oh, I see people crying off the song. And what was happening was I was witnessing to myself.
Wow.
And one thing led to another. I accepted the Lord. And, gosh, things started happening. I mean, I started feeling really beautiful inside. A lot of people, they don't know how the feeling really is, but I feel beautiful inside about it. So one thing led to another. And as time went by, I wound up with a ministry. The Blood of the Lamb Ministry is the name of the ministry.
Yes.
Now, it's a funny thing about that. I'm up singing my gospel songs and preaching the word. Do you know people ask me, can you do Treat Her Like a Lady? Can you do It's Too Late to Turn Back Now? Oh, Everywhere I go, I hear that. You know, you go, you go to different churches, you fly to different states, and you sing it. And people had actually brought albums to the church.
But you know, it's wonderful, and I think it shows a love, Pastor Eddie Cornelius, for what you've done, the gift that God has given you and that you've shared with people through your gospel music, which is amazing. And I've had Leon put up a link to your MySpace page right now at shillingshow.com if people want to hear some of the new music and check it out, because it's amazing. We also have just about a minute left, and Daryl is on the line from Charlottesville. Daryl, welcome to the Schilling Show. Do you have a comment or question for Pastor Eddie Cornelius?
Well, I just wanted to tell Eddie that I was at the Embers Club at Atlantic Beach, North Carolina, and they came in to sing, and he had a cast on. I mean, it was unbelievable. They did their routine, and they were dancing and singing, and it was absolutely fantastic. And he was up there with a cast on.
That's right.
Yeah, you know, you never know who's going to be in the listening audience, and it's just a confirmation of the story that you tried to do it anyway. I think it shows what's in your heart, and I'm so proud of all the things that you've done. You know, many people are ruined by success, and I know you told us, Pastor Eddie, that your life has not been easy since then, but you've kept the faith. God has used you in a special way with such a terrific musical talent. Gosh, I hope if you're ever up in the Charlottesville, Virginia area here in Central Virginia that you'll stop by and spend some time with us here in studio and maybe play a little of your new music. We would love to meet you in person, and I just want to thank you for sharing your gift and your time with us on the show today.
Well, I thank you, and I still love my fans.
I know you do, and they're out there, and probably more than you know. Pastor Eddie Cornelius, it's been a terrific half hour. Thanks for joining us.
And thank you.
All righty. And you know what? It's amazing that Pastor Eddie told us that, you know, his time hasn't been easy. I mean, this is a guy you would think they were on the top of the world. He's got a gift from God for writing music that has stood the test of time, that people still love all these years later. They even want to hear it in church. And yet he was befallen with, I think, one of the most tragic stories that I've ever heard, being pulled over by a police officer for an autograph, the car being struck, the guitar player being killed, him being thrown 36 feet in the air into an accident that was still being recovered from, apparently, almost 40 years later. It's really a terrific story, but God has used him in a wonderful way. I hope you'll check it out online. We've got a link up to his website. He's produced a lot of music since those days, and as I mentioned to you, I was absolutely astounded by how beautiful it was when I heard it, and I want you to check it out as well. Alrighty, that's going to wrap it up for the Schilling Show today. I'm going to have to think about who's going to be the next music on Bumper Music Brought to Life, because it is a fascinating segment, especially for people who love music. And I love that Daryl called in and said he saw Eddie Cornelius in a cast in North Carolina at a concert. Now you know why. They probably didn't say that at every one of these meetings. Here's why Eddie's in a cast, but he was, and I'm so glad he shared it with us and that he shared the story. Alrighty, we're heading out of here. We'll see you tomorrow on the Schilling Show. We've got so much more to come, and I want you to make sure you're here with us. Until then, we'll see you soon on the Schilling Show.